With Belshazzar right around the corner, I should be saving up my resources so that I can make sure that my main hits 1520 to clear the whole raid, and then to sell some excess materials that I might have to make some bank. And while I certainly will be doing those things to some extent, I'm kinda bad at just sitting on my resources and not really doing anything with them. So over the last week or so, I ended up rebuilding my Reaper a little bit, because I wanted to try out the Hunger playstyle, and I also ended up building a Glavier, but maybe that's for another video. When it comes down to Reaper, I think that the Lunar Voice playstyle is definitely the coolest that Reaper will get, which is why I ended up making a Lunar Voice build when I first started playing Reaper. However, after playing it for a few weeks, while it certainly has been fun, I feel like it's not as fun as it could be if I had more resources to invest into it, because for me, Reaper is and probably always will be just an alt, and getting high quality specialization accessories isn't really all that cheap, and I feel like I'd also like to have some higher level cooldown gems to make the rotation flow better. And then there's also the tripods that you'd like to get leveled up as well, as all of these things do have a fair amount of impact on your gameplay. So with Reaper being a lower investment for fun alt, I wanted to see if maybe Hunger would feel better without having to spend too much money on making the build work. Now, luckily enough, my old self had the foresight of getting accessories and a stone that would allow for an easy transition, so all I needed were swiftness accessories and the Hunger books, which didn't really set me back that much gold. So after checking the market board to see how much it would cost me, I decided to go for it. And I'm really glad that I did, because when I was deciding on my build the first time around, I went to Trixion to test both builds, as you do normally. And in Trixion, Lunar Voice definitely was the winner, because it just felt so much better on the striking dummy than Hunger. But in an actual fight, I actually much prefer the Hunger playstyle. It's maybe not as flashy as Lunar Voice, but it is very satisfying. Lunar Voice feels more like this methodical gameplay where you need to hit certain gauge gainers in a certain order, dash around the boss a bunch, because the skills do move you a lot, and then get your positioning right to then do big damage with your red skills. But with Hunger, I honestly just feel like a kid on steroids. You're already fairly fast because of the high swiftness that you build into, but then once you activate that chaos mode, you're just speed. High attack speed, high cooldown reduction, and you are still flying all over the place, because while you might not have as many dashes as you do with Lunar Voice, you still have a fair amount of them, but I feel like they're not as intrusive as they are with the Lunar Voice build, because with Lunar Voice you kinda need to use your dash skills to gain gauge and then to also go into your persona mode. With Hunger, once you fill your gauge, that's kind of it, you're good to go for the rest of the fight, as long as you don't drop the buff. It can sometimes be a bit annoying when you need to disengage from the boss for a mechanic or the boss does a cutscene, but at least it's not too hard to get back into your chaos mode if you do end up dropping it. Personally, the more active gameplay that Hunger offers has been much more enjoyable to me than what Lunar Voice has to offer, and it feels really good even with the low investment that I've put into my Reaper. Maybe I'll revisit Lunar Voice at some point in the future when I have higher level tripods by just doing my Chaos dungeons, and maybe when I get around to getting higher quality accessories for her, but for now I'm very happy to be playing with my Hunger build because it feels really damn satisfying. And who knows, maybe over time I'll just end up liking Hunger more anyways, and I just end up sticking to it all the way. I still have my old accessories lying around, so if I do ever feel like switching back to my old build, then I can easily do that, but for now I want to experience Hunger a bit more. I already talked about it in the Striker video, but I like experiencing new things, and they can come in the form of a new class releasing, but they can also come in the form of trying a new gameplay style for an existing class. It's what I did with my Reaper here, switching to the Hunger build, and it's also what I ended up doing with my Glavier, switching her Pinnacle build to a Control build. I think this is all the experimenting that I'll be doing in the foreseeable future though, as I do slowly want to start saving up for the Artist and Aeromancer releases whenever they might end up dropping, because those are two classes that I am very excited for. But with this new Reaper build and Glaive being added to the list of characters that now feel good to play because they have an actual build going on for themselves, I think that they'll be able to tie me over until the eventual release of our two specialist classes. But who knows, we have Summoner coming out in a few days, and I wouldn't be surprised if amongst the hype I also end up making one eventually. I wasn't planning on making a Reaper at first, and well, here we are. I now have two builds ready for her, so who knows what the future might bring. But I also don't really mind it too much. While spending my resources on what are essentially alts that will just be sitting at 1445 might not be the best resource investment, but as long as I get enjoyment out of it, then I'm totally fine with that. I feel like many people treat Lost Ark like a job, and if you're not doing the most efficient, most optimal things with your account, then you're just doing it wrong. But it's still a game at the end of the day that is meant to be fun, and if I have fun building these alts and playing around with them, then I don't think it's a waste of resources. Anyways, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to talk in today's video, so I want to thank you for watching, I want to thank my Patreons for their support, and I'll see you in the next one.